What's up guys? In the following video you will see Doug crafting his own ghillie, and here keep in mind that Doug has many years of military background. He learned the stuff there and you will see some of the techniques being implemented in this video. It's quite different to what most airsoft crafters do. It's also different to how I do it. But again, many interesting things to see, so let's get right into it.
Hello and welcome to the NOVRITSCH ghillie crafting video. Today I'm going to show you how to use different crafting methods to use on your own ghillie suit, how to make it look good in different environments, and how to use natural as well as other materials. First thing you need is a good suit, a base material which you will craft on. I, for example, will use our own ember suit. Always choose a suit that has the most colors of your environment where you most play at. If you're playing in the summer, use more green tones. If you're playing in the desert, use a brown suit, of course. I learned it the way that I'm using some type of net, like a fisher's net, anything that can be attached to it. There's different methods of that. Some people use glue, shoe glue, textile glue. I prefer zip ties. I ordered this from just Amazon. It's a normal decorative fisher's net. I spray painted this. I will cut different forms for it. So you measure your arms, you measure your shoulders, what you need. Then you cut it into pieces and then you can zip tie it. I will show you this. Depending on where you want your camouflage, you will search a good spot for it. Have the form either completely decking out the back or the arms. Choose color neutral zip ties and then attach it next to where your collar is. And from the collar downwards in different distances. You don't need to knot every tie with it. Start here. And then you cut the zip tie off. After a while, you will have your complete suit decked out with the net. The arms, shoulders and back piece. Since it takes a very long time, I have prepared one suit already. When it's done and you have to choose the right colors, you spray painted the net, it will not be distinguishable from the other suit anymore. So you have a base on where you can put and attach points to natural vegetation as well as artificial vegetation. After you attach the net, you want to search the environment. What are the colors on you're working on? Are you in mostly green, brown, whatever? You choose the next material you're using for. You don't go for the artificial leaves just yet. Normally now you either use burlap strings or jute. I make a mix out of two. So for the next step, I use jute. You cut the jute into small stripes. They can be equally long depending on what environment you're working on. I usually go for 30 centimeters. Then take the net of the suit and just knot it into the net. Now it's attached to the net. This, of course, doesn't look great. So you're trying to make it look more natural. Rubbing it with your hands, using different type of brushes, just so they are like fading out and the threads are loosening up. The more you do that, the more used it will look. You do that on every second or third attachment point of the net on your suit. After you've done that, you fill in the gaps with burlap. Choose again the colors you like, or paint them via using ink. Choose the right length. You don't need much of it, just a handful, a little bit, a few strings. And then you tie it in between where you used to tie the jute. Try always choosing different colors. Alternate the colors. Don't go for just one color. Breaking up the environment is about having stark contrasts working to each other and trying to create a pattern in the colors that disguises you and not makes you more stand out. And the more you do that, you see, the more colors are mixing and matching with each other. It doesn't have to be perfect. There don't have to be perfect knots. The length can be different. You always have the ability or the opportunity to cut and tie them up anywhere. So if some are longer than the other ones, don't mind. Nature is not about perfect symmetry. You don't have to deck out the full suit with these type of materials. You can either let the artificial leaves of your suit shine through, or you can deck it completely. depending on if you want the lighter suit and just want to camouflage yourself every time on the a field that you are playing with natural vegetation, or if you want to craft your suit once, have it always work, but this will be heavier if you deck it out completely. For my suit, I'm using in between 5 or 6 different colors. There's some different opinions about that. Some people like to use bright colors because the leaves are bright, and some people use more subdued color scheme. I'm always going for a little bit of more subdued because I'm the person that lays down while playing, trying to be in the shadows. So if there's something too bright in it in the shadow, it will, just give you away your position. After a while, you will notice that it will look like a little hairy mess. So you can use an animal brush to brush out the strings so they are looking more used up. After you have finished this layer with the burlap and jute and all the strings, you're working on the next layer. Next layer would either be starting with raffia or 3D leaves and halo screen. I'm going for the raffia now. Raffia comes in all sorts of different colors. This suit will be based on more green dominant, so I will choose green raffia. Take long strands of green raffia. Try finding a spot in between the burlap and jute that you used before, and attach it in the same method as before, just on the fisher's net. To have a more natural look, because now it just looks like a tie, you cut up the strings in the end in different lengths, then you take them in the hands and you just scrub them. Or you can use a knife or a scissor, and then, like with paper, can go through it and hold it, and then it will wrinkle. But this can be dangerous to you and you can cut yourself, so I would not recommend that. For all these crafting tips, never use too much of just one crafting material. It will give away your position if there's just a blob of straight up artificial leaves or just an raffia blob. So mix them up as much as you like, but don't use just one material. When using raffia, it's also important to take care of these long strings. Some people like that they are looking like a swamp thing when they're running around, but you can get tangled up with that. So try cutting them either short, or when you're attaching them, take a look at the length from the beginning. You can always use the rest of the material and attach it to a different point. The next step on my list is using another set of jute strings. These strings are the same material as the jute I used before. They're just more string based and create a little bit more the feeling there's something hanging and breaking up the shape completely. Because if you use your arm, for example, and then you have like the strings hanging down, it will break up the shape of you completely. The idea behind the ghillie suit is not that you just make your own shape bigger, because you will just stand out as much, but to break up the shape completely so that when you move your head after a tree or you have your arm standing out, it doesn't look like an arm or a head anymore. After using these strings, either you can let them hang like that, or you can try opening them up so that you have a little bit of loose strings in the end. These, after a while, will open up even more and create this typical ghillie look feeling, and will be one of the most natural colors that you can get. Suit crafting itself is not done fast. You can't just go on any field and say, okay, I want to craft my suit now, I'm done in like 20 minutes. If you want to craft your suit accordingly to being usable on any environment, or that you want to craft your suit that it will stay attached, you need to invest a lot of time. I would say that the normal time you need to invest is about at least a day, if not more. So while crafting, take your time, always look up the environment that you're playing in, choose the colors, make sure that all the spots that you want to cover in the materials are covered, and then take it out and check if the colors are working or not. Next step for me, using 3D leaves. You can use 3D leaves in different types. Either you attach them with the pins, or you just use zip ties. Easier method and fast is the pin. With mesh-based suits, you just put the pin through it and then attach the leaf. Don't overdo it always with the leaves, less is more. You don't want a complete blanket just with leaves. Have 1, 2, 3 leaves, different colors. Needs to look like the ground or some nature. The second method of attaching a leaf is zip ties. It's a little bit harder than using the pins, but it will last longer. Putting one of the zip ties through the leaf, pull it through, and then making sure it sticks. Zip ties are good for attaching the leaves permanently, while the pins are good for changing them for each game. Additionally to zip ties or the pins, you can use glue, either textile glue or shoe glue. What you can do with that is, instead of using the stems of the leaves, you cut up the leaves and then use the glue to attach it directly onto the fabric of the suit itself. This also works on guns or any plastic. Textile glue normally is used in a two-component way. You glue up both sides of the material that you want to glue, for example, the leaf side, and then also the suit. After you put both sides of the glue on, just press it and apply strong pressure on it. Maybe for 30 seconds in a minute. This method is used when you don't want to have the plastic stems of the leaves going out too much, or when you want a generally softer suit where you just want to have the fabric of the leaves used. I mostly use the glue method on where there's attachment points on the jackets. For example, the button line or when there's a hood to be attached. And the last method I will speak about is inking or dusting. Inking and dusting are methods to use to color your suit based on the environment if the base suit color is not to your liking. Dusting mostly is called when you use spray paints and then apply a small layer of spray paint to the suit itself. You normally do that in advance, not after the crafting, and just on the 3D leaf part of it. I use the spray paint in this case for the net part of my suit. You can see it here. Another method that I want to show you to color things is inking. You take acrylic ink, mix it with water, and then you dip in the materials that you want to dye. You use the acrylic ink and put it into water. Depending on which color you want the final product to have, you use more water or less ink. Also, I would recommend wearing gloves with this. You now take the material that you want to dye and put it into the ink with the water. You can either do it as I do with a little bowl, or after you have crafted it, use a brush and paint it with it. And then it will have a more brown look to it instead of the base color. When this is dried out, it will be much more natural looking than just the plain up right. Another very popular crafting tool is so-called halo screen. You have tulle basically in different colors and zip ties. You can cut that up in different forms, make a leaf-like form out of it and attach it to your suit again with a zip tie. This works best if you want to simulate leaves in different environments and other colors than the standard leaves are available. Together with 3D leaves, artificial leaves, raffia, jute and burlap, this system will disguise you very well. Always try to find colors that are working good together. A little summary of all the steps I have done. I started with a base blank suit. I used a fishing net that I dyed. Then I put jute, burlap and other string-based attached raffia to it. After the raffia I cut it up and made it look stringy enough so it breaks up the form and color of it. And after the raffia I used 3D leaves. If you followed all these steps to the end, you will have a really fun suit to play with, and I hope also that you enjoy crafting.